British visual artist. I come from the southeast of England. I moved to France at an early age with my family, and I lived there for the following 27 years. I studied documentary cinema at the Université Paul Valéry in Montpellier in the south of France, and then I studied photography for 3 years at the French National School of Photography in Arles. I'm currently based in Edinburgh in Scotland, where I run photo workshops and the Edinburgh Photoville Club. I proposed to my South Korean partner Eunji Park in the summer of 2016 while we were still living in Paris. I gave her an engagement ring and she seemed very happy about my proposal. However, 2 or 3 days later, I realized that she hadn't really said yes. And maybe a month after that, we went on a summer trip, like every year, to South Korea, staying with her parents in Seoul and traveling around the country, going from Seoul to Busan and to the island of Jeju. The following year, we went back to South Korea in the summer and stayed there for about a month. And during these 2 trips, I took loads of photos. So portraits of Eunji, pictures of objects, and pictures of the landscape, mainly. So I had gathered this kind of archive of images, if you like. And towards the end of 2017, the curator of the Mulhouse Photo Biennial in the northeast of France asked me if I had a project that related to the theme of the next edition of the biennial, which was attractions. And it just became clear to me that these pictures that I had taken during these 2 trips were going to become part of a project about my wedding proposal. But I would say that the project is also about our questions and doubts about getting married and about our future also. But I would say that it was really towards the end of 2017 that the project really came together. I would say that Photo Book Dummy is more like an extension of my work. I rarely start working on a project thinking this project is definitely going to become a photo book. First of all, I take the pictures, then the most appropriate form of presentation comes after in quite a natural way. Also, a photo book dummy for me is a great way of structuring a sequence of images and text. It allows me to see if the sequence flows well or not, and if a picture needs to be presented bigger or smaller, for example. And on the practical side, of course, a photo book dummy is probably one of the best ways of presenting a new project to a potential publisher. But I think that it can also serve as a portfolio when presenting the work to curators. I wouldn't say there's just one most important aspect in making a photo book. Concerning Only the Fires Say and Yes No Maybe, it has been important, for example, to find the right type of paper or the right type of printing that suits the body of work. What is also important for me is to create several versions of the book dummy in order to find the final form of the book. What is also important in making a book is to establish a good relationship with the publisher. In the case of Only the Fires Say, it was great working with the French publishing house Poursuite Edition. The publisher, who also acted as a designer, brought some really exciting ideas to the table concerning the book's design. But all in all, what I think is important for me is to create an object that ultimately I can feel proud of. Once the meaning of Yes, No, Maybe had become more clearly defined towards the end of 2017, I started looking at a lot of photographers' sketchbooks or scrapbooks. For example, Henri Cartier-Bresson's scrapbook, and also a publication called Photographers' Sketchbooks by two editors called Brian Formals and Stephen McLaren. In that book, you see various photographers' drawings, notes, or picture editings while they're preparing or making photo projects. So that was a source of inspiration for what I was preparing, Yes, No, Maybe. Also, these days I'm a big fan of a YouTube channel called Lessons from the Screenplay, in which Hollywood and art house film screenplays are analysed, and you see how stories in these films are told using the language of cinema. That is probably something that informed the telling of a story in Yes, No, Maybe, I guess. Equally, it's important for me to show my ongoing project to family, friends and curators or critiques during portfolio reviews. Very often they'll have a different reading of my photos and texts than me. That interests me. That's a great input for my project. And also very often they'll have references. They'll think of references that I would otherwise never have thought of. At the moment I'm working on an ongoing project called the White Cliffs of Dover. In November 2016 I went to the northern French port town of Calais, where there was a vast migrant camp called the Jungle. While I was there in Calais, the migrant camp was being evacuated by the French authorities, and I photographed that episode. Several months later, it dawned on me that those photos were going to become part of a much larger project about my own history of emigration, having left the UK at an early age to go to live in France with my family. And compared to Only the Fire Say and Yes, No, Maybe, in the White Cliffs of Dover, I'm looking to engage with other media alongside photography and writing. For example, drawing, painting and filmmaking, because I find it exciting, the idea of working beyond the boundaries of photography.